Hey, are you planning to buy a new M3 Mac? Well, scrap those plans. It's time to chuck those in the bin because they're obsolete now. Yes, M4 is coming, and it's coming a lot sooner than expected. So let's delve in. Courtesy of Mr. Mark Gurman, we have details about Apple's M4 roadmap that could begin as soon as this year. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, whoa, why are you so fast, Apple? We just got M3 a few months ago, right? Well, yes, you're very much right about that, but it does seem Apple slowly wants to make annual upgrades for the Mac more common, and I guess it might now follow a set release schedule similar to the iPhone. And I would 100% be down for this. Right now it is very annoying trying to predict when we could see a new Mac release, and so if it was set in stone that every MacBook Pro refresh would launch in October or every MacBook Air refresh would launch every March, it would make people's purchasing decisions much easier. So as much as yearly upgrades are overkill, I'm not going to complain about it because yearly upgrades would mean you would get the best possible specs when you're ready to upgrade, which is always awesome. You know what else would be awesome? Subscribing to the channel, of course. I would greatly appreciate it, and it would bring you the latest about Apple right to subscription box, so please consider it. It would be appreciated. We're trying to hit our next milestone of 16,000 subscribers, so join the Saranbyte gang now. What kind of upgrades can we expect with the M4 anyways? Well, it seems Apple's jumping fully on the AI bandwagon, because apparently that's what everyone cares about nowadays. And so that's going to be the main focus with this new chipset, with an updated neural engine, which makes sense considering we've heard so much about iOS 18 being AI based, and so I'm assuming those AI features are going to trickle down to macOS as well. M4 will be based on 3nm like M3 was, but it will use an updated process so that performance and efficiency are ever so slightly better. But of course, don't expect revolutionary upgrades that are going to blow your socks off. It's probably going to be 10% faster, but honestly, Apple seems pretty comfortable with the slow and steady performance upgrades. Now, things do get interesting when we get into the variants that M4 could come in. So we have one codenamed Donan, which will be the base M4, then we have Bravo, which will be the mid-tier chipsets, so I'm assuming that's going to be both the M4 Pro and M4 Max. And then Hydra is the highest end offering, which apparently is designed for the Mac Pro, so I'm assuming that's going to be the heavily rumored Ultra or Extreme chipsets we've heard in the past. That's very intriguing because we had heard about an M2 Ultra in the past, but that never happened, and so as a result, the Mac Pro kinda felt redundant because it had so much wasted space inside and was a much more expensive machine than the Mac Studio, whilst not offering any particular performance upgrades, and so I'm glad M4 Ultra could be happening. Also, I do want to note it's interesting both the M4 Pro and Max fall under the same codename because, unlike the M1 and M2 variants of the Pro and Max, the M3 versions are completely different chipsets. Before they had the same CPU configuration, but it would be the GPU that's different, but now even the M3 Max offers higher performance cores over the M3 Pro, so could M4 be returning back to the M1 and M2 layouts, where the Pro and Max share the same CPUs? I'm not sure, but that certainly would be nice considering M3 Pro in some ways was a weird downgrade over the M2 Pro. It was very puzzling, but knowing Apple, I could see them wanting to upsell people to the Max. And talking about upselling, Gurman also interestingly says Apple's testing the Mac Studio with an unreleased M3 Aero chipset, weird, as well as a variation of the M4 Bravo chipset. Now this is what piqued my interest because it does seem to suggest the Mac Studio could get its own chipset that's above the Max. I guess that could make sense considering the Mac Studio can definitely be pushed a little more because it does have a larger thermal envelope compared to the MacBook Pros, and so an M4 Studio chipset would be nice alongside the higher end M4 Ultra on the Mac Studio, and it offering better performance than the MacBook Pros would probably upsell people to the Mac Studio and Studio Display combo. So to summarize, because that was a lot of information to process, the M4 range could come with 5 different chipsets. We have the regular M4, M4 Pro, M4 Max, M4 Studio, and M4 Ultra. Clearly Apple's plan is to have specialized chipsets for the highest end offerings that eke out as much power as possible so that of course people feel the need to get those machines and spend more cash. But I'm probably going to stick with the base level M4. Those are the chips, but let's now break down the M4 roadmap according to Gurman. The first machine we should see is the base M4 MacBook Pro towards the end of this year. I'm assuming around October. This will probably be a spec refresh, and that's fine. This machine is pretty good as is, but I will note, I'm really praying to the Apple gods that we see memory upgrades with the base models in M4. Gurman does say the highest end M4 Mac desktops could now offer 512 gigs of unified memory, which would be a massive leap over the current 192 gigs of memory on the M2 Ultra. And so let's hope this applies to the lower end machines as well, because they should really be on 16 gigs of base memory by now. And also I do think it makes sense to upgrade the memory with M4, considering Apple is going to be pushing all these AI features where high memory does come in handy. So let's pray Apple finally ends up doing this and doesn't try to rip us off with 8 gig Macs once again. Anyways, the next machine Gurman mentions will be updated is the 24-inch iMac. This is also expected towards the end of this year, and that's surprising because it took Apple nearly 3 years to update it from M1 to M3, and so going to M4 so soon has caught me off guard a little, I can't lie. I've always argued it makes sense to not upgrade the iMac very often, considering it's a low volume product, and the user base for the machine, which are schools and families, likely won't care about having a slightly faster chipset. But hey, if it's going to be a simple chip swap, then I guess we'll take the upgrades that come with M4. Next is the Mac Mini. So interestingly, this will be skipping M3 altogether, and it's going to get M4 by the end of this year as well. It looks like we can expect an October event with a bunch of spec refreshes, similar to what happened last year. But anyways, this should be getting the M4 and the M4 Pro chipsets, and I guess it makes sense of skipping M3 Pro considering it was such a weird upgrade over the M2 Pro. The next machines Gurman mentions are the higher end MacBook Pros. Apparently these could release sometime during the end of 2024 to early 2025, but I'm pretty sure these will come out later this year because the MacBook Pro is a big seller for them, and also it doesn't make much sense to release the base M4 MacBook Pro without its higher end counterparts, and so all the configurations should release together like they did last year. I'm not expecting any new fancy color this time. It should basically just be a chipset refresh, and that's it. The MacBook Air's next, and apparently that's going to stick to spring release, similar to the M3 model this year. Now I'm really hoping the MacBooks at the very least stick to some sort of schedule, because those are the most popular models, those are the ones students plan to buy. So if the Pros release every October and the Air releases every March, that would make my life much easier when people come to me for purchasing recommendations. Now much like every other Mac on this list, don't expect any other changes apart from any chipsets. Apple seems pretty happy with the existing form factors, so I don't see them changing the design of their MacBooks anytime soon. Finally, during mid-2025, we could see the M4 Mac Studio, which makes sense considering the M2 model launched at WWDC and the Mac Pro then releases in the second half of 2025. Which I'm gonna go against. Yes, I know I shouldn't be disagreeing with the ever-credible Mark Gurman, but I see the Mac Pro sticking to a WWDC release schedule. Why do I think this? Well, by the time the second half of next year begins, I'm sure there's going to be new M5 machines on the way, and so they need to be done with M4 by the summer in my opinion. Now I do wonder if they're going to introduce a new design with the M4 Mac Pro, because we did not get a redesign with the M2 refresh. I'm really hoping they do, because the Mac Pro could definitely be much smaller, but also it's a low volume product, and you could argue Apple doesn't want to spend the R&D developing a new shell because Timothy is a cheapskate. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.